There we go. Alrighty. Welcome everyone to Inner Strength Check. They say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but my autistic ass says flattery is the most sincere form of flattery. So here with me is a grindcore death metal legend. I'm fanboying a little hard over here right now. Joining us all the way from across the world is Mr. Matt Harvey of the illustrious Exhumed and also Gruesome and Left to Die. Matt, how are you, mate?
I'm good, man. I'm stoked. We are I'm here at our studio. We're about to start rehearsing after this and getting ready to come on down your way.
Sweet, sweet. How have the rehearsals been going? I mean, you guys would be pretty finely tuned considering all the shows you've been doing this year.
Yeah, I mean
Hey?
we did the States, we did Europe. So this is sort of the third leg of the tour. And of course, with the album being about the road, this is an album that we knew we were gonna have to get out and do a lot of touring for. So yeah, we're feeling good.
It's pretty on brand. I mean, even your tour posters, like when the rubber hits the red and red asphalt. Did the touring cycle actually influence this one lyrically, considering it's very
Oh,
yeah.
100%. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that was we spend so much time, in vehicles getting from gig A to gig B. I mean, that's like 60 to 70% of touring. It's like I meet a lot of people around town, my wife's friends or whoever, just regular folks. And like, oh, that must be so exciting, like playing in a band and going on tour. I'm like, well, don't get me wrong, it's cool, but it's like you got a 6 hour commute, 2 hours of, just sort of lifting stuff, and then an hour and a half of actually like playing music,
Yeah.
So it's it's an interesting way to earn a living, but I wouldn't trade it.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that people sort of forget because if someone's driving, say, to visit their relatives and they're like over in another state and it's 6 hours, the expected thing is like you waltz through the door, you put your bags down and you just go flop out on the couch. But that's kind of when you're touring, after you've done that drive, well, now it's go time. And you might be
Right.
repeating that, days in, days. Um, so yeah, no wonder musicians are feeling it by the end of the tour. And you guys had some pretty extensive touring so far this year too, with the US and Europe so
Yeah.
far. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think our US tour started the day before the album dropped. So, you
Wow.
know, we really made an effort this time to sort of coordinate things and just do this big burst of touring right at the beginning.
Mm.
Um, and we have a few months off, and then we'll be back at it before the end of the year, and then we're already looking at next year, and so on and so forth. So it's and of course during our time off, I'm going to Europe with Left to Die, and then Left to Die is going to Latin America. So it's and no rest this year. I didn't tour that much last year, but this year is going to be pretty hard traveling.
So if the old adage no rest for the wicked holds true, you're in the ninth circle of hell, mate. Speaking of Left to Die, you guys have got some new material I hear as well there too.
Yeah. We just dropped the first single from the record yesterday. It's a record where we just went and re-recorded a bunch of the early Death and Mantis demo stuff. People had been asking us, "Oh, are you guys going to record something? Are you guys going to write songs and this and that?" And because of us doing all the leprosy and Scream Bloody Gore stuff and Terry and Rick's pedigree, we were talking about writing some songs, and I was like, man, people are going to put a lot of pressure on this.
Mm,
Uh, we should, and no matter what we do, it's not really going to live up to that. So why don't we just do something, something fun. And a lot of the songs that are on the record, the only versions that have been out for 40 years or whatever, they're fucking recorded on a boombox. So it's like, cool, we can bring something to the material, we can execute it in a way that makes it palatable for more Death fans who don't like
mm.
listening to recordings made on boom boxes, which I totally get. So yeah, it just turned out to be a fun project, and hopefully people dig it.
Awesome, awesome. And there's a kind of a world there's a world of difference between a Left to Die show and an Exhumed show, huh? I remember your guys' show at the Bendy, and I just sort of thought, I knew what was coming. I'd heard and read what was coming, but it's one thing to see photos and it's another to just be in the pit and there's dead babies and chainsaws and blood and dudes and oh, it's a real spectacle. In terms of bringing all that get up over, like, is it kind of funny, like going through the airport if you get like, have you ever gotten stopped with all your props and you're like, look, I can explain.
Well, we were very fortunate in that we have a doctor in Australia who is phenomenal.
Mm,
I feel like I don't want to reveal his identity,
that's okay.
for
You don't
fear of
have to.
litigation or
You
something.
don't have to.
But he is an amazing guy, and basically once he became involved, it was like he's like, "What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this? Is this too much?" We're like, "No, no, more, bring it." Um, so just because of that, because of the customs thing, and obviously the expense of bringing somebody from America is pretty considerable for an underground band. So
Mm, mm.
our American guy, unfortunately, we weren't able to bring. Um, so it worked out really well, and being able to do the full show is a lot of fun. We just did
Mm,
the European tour. We were not able to do the full show, so it's a lot more fun to do the full
mm,
gig. I mean, it's
mm.
still we still had a great time, and the European shows were very cool and everything. um, and it is kind of reassuring to know that you can do a gig and people will still like it even if
Yeah.
you're not chainsawing them or whatever. But it's more fun to do when you're chainsawing. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the response I'm guessing then, I mean, people are there first and foremost for the music. So I'm guessing the response to the Red Asphalt stuff's been great on tour. Like people been lapping it
yeah,
up. Yeah.
the new songs have been going over really well. We're doing a lot of new stuff on this record. I could kind of tell. I think, that we all felt pretty strongly about it because when we were
Mm.
talking about the set list, we were like, "Wow, this is too many songs from the new album." It's like we can't do the whole record and then only and then not do anything from all these other records. So we had to bring it down to about half of the new album. But I think that's a good indicator that we feel that the material's strong, and it's been, like I said, it's been going over really well live. So that's it's always reassuring, because you write a song, you record a song, and like I think this is good, right? I think people are gonna dig it. Like I think this works, and then you play it live, and you're like, oh, cool, that actually worked. That's always nice.
So is for you is the choosing the set list just a little bit of a mix and match? Like, okay, this is a new one. I'll just sort of we'll just sort of A/B test this and kind of throw it out there, see how it goes, and then maybe throw in some of the classics, that kind of thing. Is that kind of your decision making around a set list, or you got a bit more of a
Yeah.
process, or
Well, in terms of like the pacing of the set, like with speed and groove or whatever, there is kind of a roadmap for that.
yeah,
Like what works. Um, if you're going to start with something really slow, like you have a real hard time slowing down again in the middle of the set.
yeah,
Whereas if you start with something really fast, then you can kind of circulate or whatever. But you also don't want to get in the trap of playing all really fast songs because then you get ear fatigue. The audience gets ear fatigue. As much as I've met people who are like, how come you guys don't play 20 songs that are like 1.5 minutes each or
that's
whatever? I'm like,
me. Yeah,
trust me, if we do that, you're gonna be leaving for a beer by like song six.
yeah,
So it's a push and pull, and we always try to have a couple deep cuts and
mm,
stuff from the first few albums, just because you look at the numbers online of what people are streaming or whatever, and it's like the first couple albums are always quite high up there. So it's like, okay, cool. And the songs are pretty well worn for us, so it's easy. Like, oh, cool, you guys want to hear Limb from Limb? Like, sweet, I can play this one drunk, like no problem.
it's like
So
people are shouting out, play your old shit, and you go, thank you.
yeah, because people have asked me before, oh, what's your favorite song to play live? I'm like, well, the one that the audience likes the best is my favorite, unless it's really hard to play, in which case it's my second favorite.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get these musical ideas and you're like, this is really clever, and then you're going to play it live and you're trying to sing, you're like, okay, this might be too clever. Like, holy shit.
And so what are your thoughts about the upcoming Australian tour? You've got quite a run of shows. Well, we put in the do some reviewing for you guys at a couple of shows just in Melbourne, and you're scattering yourself across Australia, New Zealand. Like you've got a fair run of dates coming up here.
Yeah, man, it's cool because last time we were down there, we didn't get to Perth at all. We've never been to New Zealand, so
Mm,
you know that's a good sign. In my mind, really, I feel like if we're taking the time to go all the way out there, it's a long trip. It's like let's make the most of it. Let's play wherever makes sense. Fuck it, let's play in Darwin. I don't know, like what do you got? Like let's go somewhere. I have no idea. We're the kind of band that we like to find new places to play and nooks and crannies to go into, and maybe
mm.
try other markets that other bands wouldn't. And so working with somebody that wants, with an agent that wants to put us to work, that's our kind of thing. It's like, well,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah, and I mean between John and Anth, they're both going to put you to work. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
You're in good hands with those two on that tour. And speaking of touring as well, do you find, Matt, that like the overall, for me, I find it interesting at the moment because there is a, I mean, let's not go into the Strait of Hormuz and all that bullshit, but that has actually affected multiple tours coming here. But I mean, you've got the cost of living crisis, the cost of coming to Australia, it's tens of thousands of dollars for some bands. And yet, what I'm sort of noticing as a punter is the amount of extreme metal gigs from bands young and old into just touring all over the place internationally just seems to be picking up. I don't know if you kind of agree with that take, but for me, I feel like the sort of the overall rate of especially extreme metal gigs seems to be kind of increasing with touring. It's like the flavor for this kind of sounds picked right back up, funnily enough.
Huh. Well, I think, given like you said, the multiple crises on multiple fronts
Yeah.
in the world, there's a few things that, I think people, need in those kind of times. And one
Mm.
is someplace to go and just let loose, you
Yeah.
know. And our shows are definitely a place where you can
Oh
go and let
God, yeah.
loose
Yeah.
some noise and, just fucking lose your mind for an hour and a half and be like, afterwards, like, okay, cool. It's a release. And the other thing that is, you go to a gig and I mean, there's beyond even the music, there's just a great like community aspect to it. It's a place where you'll run into people you haven't seen in a while, or it's just becomes an excuse for people to get together and
Mm.
yeah, the music's at the center of it, but it's also just about like fuck, it's been a while since we've had a reason to all get together. That's not shitty, that's not
Yeah.
like whatever, and get together for something that we're stoked about. And obviously, not to sound like the old guy, but I mean, I think in this increasingly digital, virtual, kind of world, people we need to hang out more.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
shows a great place to do it. You have a couple of beers, you see some friends, you talk some shit, you have a laugh, scream and yell, fucking feel a lot better the next day. Once the hangover goes away, you feel a lot better.
And it's interesting too, isn't it? Because it's like if you think about it, I always think about this. I always have moments like this at a gig, especially like I'm sure I had one or two when I was in the Exhumed pit. Which, by the way, funny story, mate. I was stone cold sober, and I got knocked around that much that I couldn't bloody walk. Like I had a, but and I'm like hanging off the security guard. And he's like, "How many of you had?" I'm like, "I drove, mate." But I think it's an
I love
important point that it's kind of funny. It's like, you're talking necromaniac and people getting ripped apart and crypts and graveyards, and some guy is up there with, you've got your prosthetics. And if you take a step back and kind of objectively look at it, it's like here's a bunch of dudes, balding or long hair or whatever, screaming at me about death and murder. And there's so many stereotypes about that. Not so much these days, but there's still some lingering, oh, it's bad for you kind of thing. And yet for me and for yourself as a performer and myself as a punter, it's like you said, it's a great release. It's like mateship, it's bonding. I always come out of gigs. Do you ever have those moments where you, as a performer, are thinking, hang on a minute, everyone's like smiling and laughing and having a great time. We're standing up here talking about running people's fucking heads over.
I mean, to me, I guess I approach all this, and this might sound corny or whatever, but I mean, like, I find it to be really joyful because I enjoy this kind of music.
Mm,
And, certainly maybe when I was younger, there was a lot more angst and, trying to work through whatever issues and stuff. And not that I'm completely well adjusted and perfect now, far from
mm,
it. But, I don't have the same issues that I had at 15 when I was, trying to write evil riffs or whatever. And now, I think about all the friends that I've made through doing this, fucking girlfriends, wife, whatever that I've met through doing this. And all these, we go to shows and see friends all over the world and stuff. And there is so much positive. And even when, I was in the middle of, feeling angsty or isolated or depressed or whatever as a kid, this was like a release. You have all this negative emotion and you got to get it out somehow, or you're going to lash out, you're going to get in trouble, you're going to beat somebody up, you're going to get beat up, you're going to get arrested, you're going to fucking do too many drugs.
mm,
I'm not anti-drugs, I'm anti too many drugs.
mm,
Um,
mm.
yeah, we've all done too many here and there, but you don't want to make it a lifestyle. But finding some voice for all that negativity,
Mm,
that's really empowering. And
mm.
so now at this point, yeah, I want it to be brutal and I want it to be heavy and I want it to be powerful and crushing, but I'm not like mad about it. I'm like stoked about it. Like, fuck
Yeah,
yeah, it's fucking brutal. Hell yeah, man. Not like, I'm mad. You see how mad I am? I'm like, no, like this is what we do. And I think we're fairly good at it and we feel confident. You know what I mean? Like we're not going out there like trying to be somebody that we're not. We're not evil. I don't think we might be dicks sometimes, but we're not evil.
yeah.
We're just like the punters. We're there for the same reason. It's just to let this shit out and release some energy together, and it's a fucking catharsis.
Hell yeah, man. And look, I think I'm in the same part of my metalhead arc. I think it's like a metalhead developmental thing. You kind of get into it being like, it's all expunging, and then after a while you're like, you know what? I don't care if they're singing about blood and guts and tentacles or what the hell ever. This is fun. So
Right.
we'll have the show, we'll have the all the tour show details for everyone up online at innerstrengthcheckpodcast.com, all the tour dates, all that sort of stuff. Matt, I could flap my gums at you all day, but I'll let you go because you've probably got a gauntlet of interviews and other stuff to hang on to. But I look very much forward to seeing you. I'll be seeing you at Frankston and Melbourne because
Oh hell yeah.
and
Okay.
yeah, at least twice. So, um,
Okay.
yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my leg corked and the bouncers asking if I need to sit down because I've had too many to drink and whatnot.
That's how you know your night's complete. All
Hell
right.
yeah,
Thanks, man.
man. All right, take it
Cool.
easy. You have a great day, brother.
All right. You too, man. We'll see you soon.
Cheers. See ya.
Be sure to check out the show notes over at www.innerstrengthcheckpodcast.com/blog, which will also include tour dates, artist media, ticket links, and all the grindcore goodness a growing droid needs.